Supervisor Johnson
has joined the conference.
And now I know who he's living with.
We're good? Okay, very good. Call meeting to order. This morning we'll have the invocation from Supervisor Bishop, Pledge of Allegiance. Supervisor Angus, if you'll please rise.
Heavenly Father, we come before you today to give you honor and praise. We thank you for our great country, and we ask your divine wisdom for all of our leaders here today. May we be given the wisdom and courage in the decisions we make. We ask that you guide and direct our meetings so that it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. We thank you for the accomplishments of reaching our goals, and we pray these things in your mighty name. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Board of Supervisors may, by motion, recess into executive session to receive legal advice from the board's attorney on any item contained on this agenda pursuant to Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03, portions A, 3, and 4. And at this moment, we'll call for a motion and action to call for an executive session to be held on November 6, 2017 at 9 a.m. for discussion and consultation with legal counsel in accordance with the Arizona Revised Statutes 38-431.03, portions A, 3, and 4, to discuss items noticed on the agenda with an asterisk.
So moved.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Move on down to official business. Any current, pending, contemplated litigation claims or demands?
Nothing to report, Chairman.
Okay. Committee or legislative reports? Let's start with Supervisor Johnson.
nothing this morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Bishop?
No reports this morning.
Supervisor Angus?
Nothing this morning.
And Supervisor Wakamoto?
Nothing this morning.
And I also have nothing to report this morning. Number 3, the county administrator's report.
I have no report today, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 4, approval of the September 18, 2017 Board of Supervisors regular meeting minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes, September the 18th.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, motion carried. Now we're on down to the call to the public. Those wishing to address the board at the call of the public regarding matters not on the agenda must fill out and submit to the clerk of the board to call the public request to speak form located in the back of the room prior to the meeting. Action taken as a result of the public comments will be limited to responding to criticism, referral to staff, or placing a matter on a future agenda. Comments are restricted to items not on the regular agenda, with the exception of the consent agenda, and must relate to matters within the jurisdiction of this board. I have 2 people signed up this morning to speak. Kathleen Mishler.
See you guys. Good morning. Kathleen Mishler, 5485 North Laguna Road, Golden Valley. We had our Golden Valley Fall Festival a couple of weeks ago, and it was a great success, but I just wanted to thank the Parks Director, Harold Burton, and Jeremy. They were very helpful. They had the bathrooms open, cleaned everything for us, cleaned up some weeds, just made the park look really nice for the whole parade. So just want to give them a kudos. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Steve Robinson.
Stephen Robinson, 3967 North Mormon Flat Road, Golden Valley. Supervisors, Chairman Watson. About 2 weeks ago, I met with Chairman Watson and Public Works Director Steve Latosky about Rosie Canyon Road. They were very informative and gave me a lot of information. But what I found was, one statement that was made was that that road was declared a county highway many decades ago, several decades ago. Well, in 1995, September 5th, all of Cane Beds Road, all the way up to the Utah state line, was declared a primitive road on September 5th. However, in December of that same year, the first 4 miles east of Highway 389 was declared a county highway, but not the rest of it. So it appears all the work that's been done recently within the county on Rosie Canyon, while it may be justified policy-wise, and I don't have any dispute with that, it was not a county highway. In fact, in 2009, it was declared to be a regularly maintained road. So I would encourage the county to look at that, because if you spent money improving that road and it wasn't a county highway, then there needs to be some action. The second issue I want to address was, in the budget, it shows under the HERF fund expenditures, $843,000 to be spent on that channel diversion project down at Topak Wash. And I certainly have seen the work that needs to be done to divert that channel back to where under the bridge instead of the old channel where it was changed from. But instead of that being HERF money, I believe it should be out of the flood control budget, because it's clearly flood control work. It's not of road work. And we already have spoke about a shortage of HERF monies. And so I think that, in my opinion, since it's not anything to do with the road, that other bridge that was put in there was part of out of the road budget, and that's understandable and expected. But the work on the channel, I believe, should be out of that. And so I request that the county take a look at that and move that, perhaps take it under advisement as far as moving it from the HERF funds budget to the flood control budget. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the call of the public. This morning we have a presentation of the 2017 Achievement of Excellence in Procurement Award, awarded by the National Procurement Institute to the Mojave County Procurement Department. So, congratulations.
Chairman Watson, members of the board, I just prepared a little information about this award and wanted to recognize the great staff that you have here at the county. So if you could indulge me for a few minutes. I'm very proud to inform you that your Mojave County Procurement Department has been awarded the prestigious 22nd Annual Achievement of Excellence in Procurement for 2017 from the National Procurement Institute. This is the 13th year running that Mojave County has earned this award. The AEP award is earned by public and nonprofit organizations that demonstrate excellence by obtaining a high application score based on standardized criteria. The AEP is awarded annually to recognize innovation, professionalism, e-procurement, productivity, and leadership in the procurement function. Our continued achievement in earning this award demands that we continue to benchmark our procedures and processes to realize continued improvement and innovation. The application process is rigorous and requires comprehensive documentation in 18 categories. The AEP program encourages the development of excellence as well as continued organizational improvement to earn the award annually. For 2017, there were 205 successful applicants. This included 48 counties, 68 cities, 25 higher education agencies, 26 school districts, 26 special districts, and 12 state agencies. Arizona had 14 award recipients. Based on these numbers, we are very proud to be part of a very exclusive group. The AEP is supported and sponsored by the following organizations: the California Association of Public Procurement Officials, the Institute for Supply Management, the Florida Association of Public Procurement Officials, NIGP, the Institute for Public Procurement, the National Association of Educational Procurement, the Texas Public Purchasing Association, and the Canadian Public Procurement Council. The AEP is supported by Airport Purchasing Group, the National Association of State Procurement Officials, the National Intergovernmental Purchasing Alliance, the National Joint Powers Alliance, the Universal Public Procurement Certification Council, and U.S. Communities. Our success would not be achievable without the support of all of our county departments. This award is achieved through a commitment at all levels of the organization to ensure that the laws, policies, and procedures related to the procurement function are followed. The Procurement Department would like to thank all of our county staff members and the Board of Supervisors for their support and partnership. We are committed to continuing our history of excellence and innovation. At this time, I'd like to introduce your Procurement Department staff. Our office specialist is Sarah Bolander. Our all things warehouse is Curtis Shelton. One of our procurement officers, who's not able to be with us here today, is Terry Williams. Our senior procurement officer is Andrew Michael. Our procurement supervisor is Tony Burgett. And I'm your procurement director. So I would just like to say thank you so much for all of the support that you give us every day.
If we might get a picture.
Yeah, if I could, I'd like if the supervisors would come forward. We have our award, and we'd like to get our annual picture.
Did we miss Curtis Schelt? Did we miss Curtis?
No, we announced him.
That's me. Good job.
Okay, now we're on down to the consent agenda. The following items listed under the consent agenda will be considered as a group and acted upon by one motion with no separate discussion of said items, unless a board member so requests. In that event, the item will be removed from the consent agenda for separate discussion and action. So we'll start with Supervisor Johnson. Do you have any items to remove?
Nothing this morning, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Supervisor Bishop?
Number 9.
Number 9. Supervisor Angus?
Nothing this morning.
Supervisor Wakamoto?
Nothing this morning.
And I have nothing myself. So we will accept a motion for consent agenda with exceptions of item 9.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 9. Supervisor Bishop.
Yes, I pulled this because some of my Golden Valley constituents are concerned about the use of parks contingency funds being transferred to Public Works to supplement this purchase that came in a little over budget. So for the benefit of those Golden Valley people, if I could get Mr. Lukowski to explain how Parks benefits from this sweeper. Thank you, Mr. Lukowski.
Good morning, Chairman Watson, members of the board, Supervisor Bishop. This concerns an FY18 approved budget capital initiative for the purchase of a street sweeper to be staged at Wallapai Mountain Park. What happens up at the park, as those roads are maintained by Mojave County, is that the geographic location of the park is such that the street sweeper is operated by the road division on an ongoing basis, as well as traffic control are positioned county-wide. And the level of resources and effort that would be required to transport on a regular basis a roads-based street sweeper to Wallapai Mountain Park is quite onerous, quite costly in terms of tying up resources. And what we see at Wallapai Mountain Park time and time again is the plethora of dirt and debris that routinely is present on the park roadways. And Parks is very well positioned with this piece of equipment, the street sweeper, being in their possession so that they can operate it literally on a weekly basis. And of course, after storm events, but even when there isn't stormy activity such as this fall, et cetera, we see a good amount of dirt and debris that gets on the roadway just from traffic, et cetera. And this really positions the park very nicely in the context of presenting the best possible grounds that it can. And that's the commitment of Mojave County Parks. And as a result, working very vigorously with the procurement department, we identified the best possible street sweeper that just happened to be just slightly above the budgeted amount that was approved in the budget. So hence we request the board for the contingency funding for the additional funds.
Thank you very much. And one of the Golden Valley concerns was that it did come in, 900?
Correct. About $965.
Above the budgeted amount.
Correct.
So
we worked vigorously to identify the best possible pricing, and at the time that this order is being contemplated, which is several months after our budget planning, this is the best possible price.
okay, and that happens quite frequently on budgeted items. Time passes and they may be above or less than what's budgeted for the item, correct?
When it comes to, exactly, Supervisor Bishop, when it comes to vehicles and equipment, what we could be contemplating here is a next model year versus when budget figures were pulled together for FY18, where we may have been working with a previous model year. So just a nominal increase that we're seeing here, the $965 on a $25,000 plus item is fairly representative of what we would see year after year as far as a capital purchase price increase.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions for Ms. Wojciechowski?
Okay,
Thank you very much.
Chairman Watson, I make a motion that we approve this budget transfer of $965.85 from Public Works Parks contingency.
And we have a motion and a second to approve the item number 9. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Moving on to our public hearings. We'll move to item number 23 and open the public hearing. Sheriff Schuster in attendance this morning. We'll open the public hearing for the discussion, possible action, authorize the submittal of a grant application for the BJA FY17 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, the JAG program, local solicitation, and authorize the chairman of the board to sign the certificate of assurances by the chief executive. Anyone wishing to speak to item number 23? There we go. Good morning, sir.
I'm here in case you have questions. You asked if we were here, so.
Questions? I have no questions. Thank you very much.
Chairman Watson, I make a motion that we approve item number 23,
I'll close the public hearing, and
and I'll make that motion to approve item number 23.
a motion to,
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carried. On to item, regular agenda, item number 24, Steve Letowski, discussion, possible action, receipt of and referred to Public Works for review and recommendation of petition for the inclusion of the half-mile section of Hope Road from Chino Drive to Earl Drive in Golden Valley. Questions for Mr. Letowski?
I guess it's just to acknowledge the receipt.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed?
Aye.
And one opposition. All right, moving on down to item number 25. Discussion, possible action, authorize the expenditure of funds to cover the cost of an appraisal for property 420 Old Highway 66. Authorize the contingency fund transfer. Direct staff to finalize appraisal and bring it back to the board for direction on moving forward with a public auction. This is brought to us by our county administrator, Michael Hendricks. Any questions for Mr. Hendricks?
Chairman Watson, I make a motion to approve.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 26, discussion possible action, accept the offer of Marvin and Inger Lustiger to donate approximately 150 acres of real property in Mojave County to be used for county and public purposes, contingent upon the Mojave County paying for an appraisal of the property to determine the value of the donation. Donor is to have the ability to choose the appraiser, authorize the county administrator to execute all pertinent documents to effect the transfer, and approve a contingency fund transfer to pay for the appraisal of the property.
Chairman Watson, I make a motion that we go forward on this agenda item number 26.
We have a motion for approval and a second. Any further discussion?
Questions?
Supervisor Bush.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I guess the question would be for the county attorney. We've never, or at least to my knowledge, I can't remember us ever doing a appraisal for someone on a donation. Can you clarify that?
Mr. Esplin?
Well, when I looked at the item when we were first preparing this for the agenda, I think normally when you buy and sell, we need an appraisal. I don't see what the problem would be on a donation either. I think it's more for the benefit of the person who's donating the property, and that's why they need the appraisal. I don't think there's anything illegal about requesting that or seeking that, so I think it'd be fine. It'd be my thoughts on it that we can do that. But whether we have it or not, I think the county administrator may be able to provide more information. Is that correct, that we needed it for the donator? We needed the appraisal, is that correct?
Just a clarification for Supervisor Johnson, I was notified that we did an appraisal for the Colorado City donation that was out there because we were requesting the land be donated, and we were requesting that at no cost or inconvenience to the donator. In this particular instance, Mr. Lestiger was a large property owner in Mojave County, and he contacted the county wishing to donate this particular piece of property. And as Supervisor Johnson knows, that we were in contact with the BLM on these types of properties, and this particular piece of property is surrounded by BLM property, and we're actually looking to the BLM to try to make some future trades for the benefit of Mojave County's economic development with the BLM land. And this particular piece of property looked like it would certainly fit the bill. And so it was suggested to Mr. Lestiger to see if he would even consider donating the property to Mojave County, and he graciously, and I mean very graciously, agreed. And for this to happen, it would be at no cost or inconvenience to Mr. Lestiger. So it's a business decision by the board if you want the piece of property. These are the conditions. If the board so chooses not to go with these conditions, I don't believe Mr. Lestiger would entertain donating the property to Mojave County. So Supervisor Johnson, I guess I hope that answers your question.
If I can also add to that, with that information in mind, the appraisal will benefit the county. If ultimately we're trying to do a swap with the BLM or try to sell it or utilize it, we're going to need to know what the appraised value is, whether it be today or in the future. At least we could have a benchmark and say this is what the appraised value was at the time that we acquired it. So I think it will be beneficial to the county. Therefore, it's something that we can do.
It's only logical to make sure that we know that the base value of the property.
Yes, sir.
Any further questions?
Mr. Chairman?
Supervisor Johnson?
Right, I guess I didn't understand that in the backup. It looked like, from what I saw, that he had proposed to give us the land previous, and there was no action taken, or it was delay of action. So if we're instigating it, then I would have no problem. But if am I correct, the motion is that we are just accepting parcel number 328-01011 as a donation to the county, and we will pay for an appraisal. And whatever the county does with the property after that is up to the county.
That's my understanding.
And I would also agree with that assessment as well. That's what the motion looks like it's saying.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Any further questions?
Was that a
None, thank you,
motion?
sir.
Thank you.
Was that a motion?
We have a motion, I believe, don't we? Motion and a second. Okay. Any further questions? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. And let's make sure that we thank the Mr. and Mrs. Listiger for their donation. It's a very generous donation and very important to Mojave County. On to item number 27. Discussion, possible action, authorize Mojave County Treasurer to settle the area property tax litigation consistent with the terms discussed in executive session.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Discussion. There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed? Motion carried unanimously. Item number 28. Discussion, possible action, accept the resignations of the following Republican Precinct Committeemen. Don Donahue, Desert Hills, Susan Donahue, Desert Hills, Kenneth R. Cruz, North Lake Havasu City, Gainell Cruz, North Lake Havasu City, Sarah Hall, South Lake Havasu City, George Stintigrud, South Lake Havasu City, Sarah Ford, South Lake Havasu City, Ruth Ellen Nevin, Lake Havasu North, David P. Nevin, Lake Havasu North, Donna Steinley, Lake Havasu South, Judith Markham, South Lake Havasu, Archie Markham, South Lake Havasu, as requested by the above-named Central Committee Precinct Committeeman.
Chairman Watson, I move that we accept those resignations.
We have a motion
Second.
for acceptance and a second. Any further discussion? There being none, those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? Motion carried. And I believe that concludes our agenda for today.
Motion to adjourn?
We have a motion to adjourn
Second.
and a second. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Supervisor Johnson.
Has left the